Hey there, everybody. Thomas Will with Basecamp Trading. It is Wednesday, June 7th, and we're going to continue on with the price action trading and mistakes traders make series here on YouTube. And what we're going to talk about is crude oil today. And more specifically, one of the big mistakes that traders make is not knowing when news announcements are coming out. Crude every Wednesday, unless there's a holiday, you have the petroleum status report, okay? And that's going to cause a lot of volatility in crude oil, RBOB, heating oil, and Brent crude, all right? And that comes out at 10:30 a.m. on Wednesdays, again, unless there's a holiday. If there's a holiday, it's bumped back a day. It goes to Thursday, and it happens at 11 o'clock, so it's bumped back 24 and a half hours. But the reason it's important to know when announcements are taking place for the markets that you trade is because they cause huge spikes in volatility, and if you're not careful, they can also cause a lot of slippage. And if you don't have a stop in place, then they can really hurt. So number one, make sure you have a stop always, and number two, be careful because it can cause slippage even if you do have a stop in place. Now, what you see here, you can see where crude dropped here. Let's go down to a 30-minute price chart. We dropped from 47.60 all the way down to a low of 45.90. Okay, so you dropped almost 2 points in less than 30 minutes. All right, and most of that move took place in less than 5 minutes. And that's the power of a news announcement and why it's important to know when these announcements are coming out, because if you're on the wrong side of that right before that announcement comes out, boom, it rips the opposite, or rips against you, and you've lost $1,000 or $2,000 even just trading one lot in a matter of a couple minutes. All right, so make sure when you're trading markets, just like we talked about yesterday, you need to know the personalities of the markets. You also need to know when there's announcements that affect those markets and what announcements affect those markets. Things like FOMC rate decision going to cause a lot of volatility in bonds. So you know if you're trading bonds, there's FOMC rate decision, you expect a lot of volatility, that type of thing. All right, so keep that in mind when trading, knowing when those announcements are. Now, the trade setup here that actually played out really well in crude oil is one, if you're a member of Basecamp Trading, we've been talking about this for the past couple of days. And that was, we talked about it last night, and yeah, I shouldn't say the past couple of days, but we talked about it last night in the end of day setups video, and we talked about it in the trading room yesterday during the day. And that was a micro trend. And it's just a price action setup. It's a really easy to identify setup. You have an overall downward moving market. You put in a higher pivot low within the context of a downward moving market. You draw a trend line, what we call the line in the sand, up and across those lows, which is what this trend line is right here. If you break that trend line, you expect it to accelerate lower immediately and resume the downtrend, which is what happened here. Broke the trend line, accelerated through the floor. Obviously, there was an event pushing prices behind it. So it was news that was driving that. Fundamentals were driving it, but the technicals were there for your setup and your entry. So pay attention to that. Also, pay attention to the fact that when news comes out, your technicals can be confirmed. And in that case, if there's fundamentals driving the technical setup, so if there's a fundamental setup or a fundamental announcement, something like crude coming out with a whole lot more in storage than we were supposed to have, then that's bearish for crude oil. And those fundamentals push crude prices lower. We expect that move to go further than it normally would. So instead of looking for 40 ticks or so on a breakout, you look for a point or so on the breakout. Make sense? So it makes it an even better setup. Now at the same time, be aware you might have a really good setup that says a market should go long, which there wasn't at this point, but let's pretend that there was, and then a fundamental announcement comes out, like the petroleum status report, causes it to shoot lower. You need to be aware that there's fundamentals driving that the opposite direction, and the technicals are kind of out the window. So don't keep buying against it, even though it's continuing to run due to fundamental reasons driving the prices. Okay? So keep all that in mind when you're trading. Know when the announcements are. Know what the numbers are when they do come out. So you know whether or not fundamentals are driving prices or if it's technical patterns driving prices. If it's both technicals and fundamentals lining up in agreement, more power to you. Even better setup. Targets are further away. If it's fundamentals disagreeing with technicals, don't fight it. Don't fight the fundamentals. Alrighty, that's all I have for you for today. I will see you in the trading room bright and early tomorrow morning. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, and subscribe if you want to keep on getting these videos every day. So that's it for now. And until next time, happy trading.